You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
Like we always do at this time, top of the second hour, mid of the show on this Black Love Weekend. That's what we gonna claim it. Black History Month.
That's right.
But we black every month, every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a feeling, a lot of y'all show a lot of love every day. Up in your home, and we gonna try to set the mood for y'all today. Razor may gotta introduce some of these songs. Midday. He may gotta put the baritone on some of this song, so Valentine's can extend more than one day in some of these households. If you get what I'm saying, Ron.
Well, coming to y'all during midday as you cooking those chitlins for the football game.
Ain't nobody cooking no daggone chitlins.
They cooking chitlins. It's Charlesville. They cooking chitlins. Eating chicken wings and rubbing on toes.
I ain't rubbing no toes.
It's IMHO.
Rubbing on toes is IMHO.
They go together nicely.
Yes, sir.
Razor, I got something for you, Razor.
What you got for me? Sound good. Starting off.
Talking.
Okay. Yes. That's my background music. I know it's Sunday, but some of y'all was made on Sundays after church. When the sweet potato pie was also good.
Did you say you got made on Sunday after church?
All right, Max. Max, please take it back.
It's time for me to take over.
Take it back, Max.
Why are you conceived at the church?
That's it. Because your spirit been pent up and you was ready to let the Holy Spirit work.
So, look, I think, on the more serious note, I think the next topic that I want to tackle has to do with
the topic they want to tackle, Max, is how they get out these church clothes the fastest without having to iron them next Sunday.
With what black women and men need from one another in a relationship, and experience is the best teacher, right? You can talk about these things. And we all know you talk about any subject on a much more superficial level until you have experience in whatever that particular topic might be. And I really wanted to make sure that we gave our listener, that we talked about some real issues. And I don't know, hopefully it's somewhere in there, give our listeners some real good advice. Well, I want to talk about what men and women need in a relationship from their partner. And a lot of times that goes unspoken because people assume that you ought to know. People assume that, well, my way of communicating, however it might be, actions, words, notes, leaving the light on or whatever, ought to tell you what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But too often, our communication isn't clear, and then problems develop out of that may have been controlled if we were just more open and honest and upfront with what we need, in a kind and loving way. And so, just hearing from you guys, what do you feel like what makes a good relationship? What do people need out of a relationship?
So, Max, you said something real key. I think one of the issues that people have communicating is that also, and I can speak for myself, is that you haven't learned you're learning, but haven't always learned a healthy way how to respond or how to listen. So it doesn't allow a person to say what they want to say, because and I'm not this way anymore, but if you're always giving a violent response, and I mean violent in your communication, or you're giving a response to where you're not really listening to the other person, at some point, why would somebody want to communicate with somebody that's a brick wall? Yeah. Let's be honest. Now, so we have to learn, okay, how do I respond properly? How do I listen properly and create back to healthy environment where this person says what they want to say? And a lot of times, we just have to be honest enough to just say, okay, this is what I'm feeling. This is how I'm feeling. I'm not happy in this area, or hey, this could be better and I could be improving. But the other person, you have to understand how to respond to that. Hey, is this, you know what? I appreciate you saying that. Is there more? See, y'all can tell people in therapy because that's what we learn in therapy. But is there more? Okay, or how does this make you feel? All these different things that I didn't learn how to do. I'm just over talking people all day on time.
But see, this is the thing that I've noticed from not only my own experiences, but what I watched coming up is that, and for lack of a better word, lack of a better term, black love, I've never seen it really be peaceful. It's always who created. Black love can be even mixed into what we see the kids twerking, dancing, shaking, gyrating, all that type stuff, right? Which lust turns to love because you don't know anything differently. The communication between us from the things that we love, like say basketball. On a basketball court, you hear more cussing and fussing and whatever on something that you black love is controversy. Black love is violent. That's what people are saying. That's not what we're saying. That's more what we know before we get to the third.
And that's and I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Problematic.
So
that's the problem.
Then when it goes into the four walls of just two people, the only love you really know, you're more comfortable and more relatable in an adversary as opposed to somebody comforting you on both sides. Because you're quicker in my lifetime of what I've seen to latch on to something that you don't like that the person did than you are to latch on to something good and remember.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't. That has to come from somewhere. Our generation didn't create that. Our parents didn't create that.
Right.
That this is something that tells us that black love has to be secret. Black love can't be shown. Like, when's the last time you saw a couple black couples walking around holding hands? I've seen more mixed couples holding hands than I have of anybody else, any other type couple.
I can't agree with that.
No, I'm saying, I've been from Baltimore. I've been from Buffalo to Miami.
I see fewer black couples than anybody.
Yeah, I see fewer. That's a better way to say it, right? But I do see more African American couples arguing that don't separate. I see more African American children, emulating what they saw grow up, and that's not a healthy love.
Yeah. So here's something that I'd like to interject there too. Is like that takes me back to my initial point on what's different about ours, because one thing that's also true behind the scenes of what you're saying, Razor, is that a lot of people put on fronts.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we as a people are sometimes too comfortable with being ourselves. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, this is me. Accept me in all my fullness. Yeah. Whereas some people always putting on a facade, like they're putting on a show that everything's good. My family's in place, my job's in place, but behind the scenes, it's not.
Oh, it's a hot mess on a big stick.
The white friend that you were talking about, that they told me that one time before. Like, as long as if you don't have a successful relationship, you have a successful divorce, and that's a unicorn in the black society because if y'all separate, somebody has to lose. Most of the time, it's the man. He has to lose his finances. He has to lose his kids. He has to lose his residence. He has to lose. He has to lose. There is no pictures of the next family on the house and then move on and everything is successful, right? That's part of black love too.
Yeah. So Max, so my answer to your question is two things. I feel like it's communication, and then it's patience. It's like, so you gotta be willing to communicate, like those thoughts, those feelings, and then once that person's honest with you, like you gotta be patient with them, because if it's areas of growth that they need, and that's your love, then you gotta be patient once they communicate. Right. You know what I mean? Like in patience or understanding. I think those words.
Patient, not stupid.
Right. Yeah, not stupid. Not stupid. But those words are sort of interchangeable. Like within that regard.
Yeah.
Too.
Anytime you want to switch them around.
Patience and understanding. Because sometimes people don't communicate. They're scared to communicate because they don't think they'll be understood.
That's true.
So I feel like that's what we need the most, because all couples, everybody has their stresses in life.
Yeah, it don't matter who you are.
But speaking about black love though,
right?
Like I see so many men, so many brothers who were raised and told that you just gotta be tough, and then they go to a job where they the only black person, they getting disrespected. Then they go home, then they got a mouthy wife, kids ain't listening. You know what I mean? And it's like there's certain stresses on black folk, and I'm speaking as a black man, but same thing for black women.
Yeah.
The way that black women historically in this country have been at the bottom of the totem pole historically in this country, and it's great seeing our sisters now taking charge, taking leadership. You know, like I believe like the highest rising gender. Like within education right now is the black woman.
It's been
as
that way
far as
for a while, too.
yeah, you know, and so I feel like that there's these stresses, you know, that we inherently have as black people, that where I think, Max, to answer your question again, it's going to take communication and understanding / patience.
Max, and empathy.
True that.
Empathy falls into that as well, and I think that's exactly what Charles was talking about. Is that you have to understand everybody's experiences, and I've talked to a lot of black people, and specifically the older generation, and so I think you can learn a lot from everybody.
Yeah.
A lot of our relationships that we have today I think that sometimes we break up too quick. But then some of those relationships, they should have broke up a long time ago.
Yeah.
There's always a balance, because there's some people, and I know them, unfortunately, they have been together for forever.
Yeah.
And they ain't like each other since they've been together.
They sleep in
and they've been
different
together
rooms
for 40 years.
Yep.
And then you have some relationships to where, and I've talked to brothers and sisters, and Charles knows this, to where they're like, man, we should have worked it out.
Yeah.
We should have had more patience. We should have figured it out. You know, I'll give an example. My parents have been together, good Lord, they've known each other since they were 5 years old. They are, and everybody actually says this about my mom and dad, and Razor knows my mom and dad. They are one of the only couples that I still know. They genuinely like each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they genuinely like each other. They travel together. They hang around together.
Yep.
They've done everything together. When my father went into ministry, mother was like, cool. When my mom wanted to do it, my father was like, cool. They always communicated. Now, they will also tell you, we had conflicts in our relationship.
Of course.
Yeah.
But the way that Charles was just talking about, the way that they've been communicated outside, no, this is an in-house issue,
Yes.
and we keep it in-house, and we work through it. And it takes time, and it takes empathy. So I think from every generation, we can learn. You take a little bit from everybody, right? You know what I'm saying? Like some of the older couples is like, yeah, grandma, he was beating on you. You should have left a long time ago. And guess what, grandpa?
Yeah.
She was a demon in her mouth. You should have left her.
Yeah.
It's a fine line too. And Max,
you know what I'm saying?
And Max, I know we got to kick it to you for the next topic, but I got to say this: it's a fine line there, like when it comes to black love and black households, like Aaron is referencing, because I'm one who believes that, you know, like that the realness is the best policy when it comes to the kids. Meaning that I think it potentially can be more harmful, but like I said, it's a fine line. But it can be more harmful for the kids to think that a relationship is perfect when it's not. So I feel like it's important for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
I agree with you.
And the other end of that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, but I feel like we got to be careful as parents, you know, like not to harm the psyche of our kids, but at the same time, let them know that, hey, like these are life challenges that you one day may be faced with, and but we're working through it. You know what I mean? Like because there's a difference between a toxic environment, you know, and an environment like that's working on itself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's different.
I'm definitely more cognizant of that precise scenario you just described, Charles, and more willing to address it now when the kids have witnessed something that is not what I want them to think love is or should be, or just, you know, an acceptable way to live. You know what I'm saying? So, we have to be responsible with the fact that we're raising the kids that are looking at how we exemplify what a relationship is for them, and judging, and then they're trying to determine in their little minds, whether you got small kids or teenagers, like, is this right or is this wrong? Is this the proper way to act or is it not? And, you know, they come to their own conclusions. And before you know it, if they don't get the answers right, then they grow up and get in a relationship where there's just more dysfunction, you know, and the cycle continues. But, you know, listening to all of your guys' responses to my question, and to throw my 2 cents in there, I think that something that is needed in relationships is acceptance, in terms of just not wanting to change your partner or significant other. And I think a lot of us fall into that. Like if you would just be this or be that or not do that, then we'd be okay. You wouldn't get on my nerves as much. You know what I'm saying? But the person that you fell in love with and decided to be in a relationship with, you fell in love with them for a reason.
That's right.
Right? And when you peel back, I don't know, the feelings or about what you want them to be and accept them as the person that they are, and then figure out, you know, how we work together in this, you know. I think that makes for a much happier, loving relationship. So I think, you know, but I think that's the source of a lot of people's issues, is that they want to change their partner instead of accepting their partner for who they are and then working through whatever issues you can't get past. And you need a friendship, like, you know, a significant other, dating, marriage. You want to be friends. You want to, you know that person to be your best friend. And then I think the other thing I would say that many of us run from, because it can be a point of contention, is boundaries. Like what I can accept, and then what I just cannot, and what I need for you to give me in order to, you know, have that happy, healthy relationship that we both want. And that goes both ways, you know,
Right.
you know, that goes both ways. But I think all of those things make for a really, really healthy relationship, and it emphasizes that Black love. But anyways.
Yeah.
So
I saw you.
I was gonna say, Max, that was perfect, because it goes into the thing that I was going to talk about, which is Max talked about accepting your partner or whoever that is for who they are. But a level of that also goes into discernment in who you're choosing as a partner from the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, I heard a lady on the internet, I've been wanting to say this forever, but her name is Crimson Cure, and she was talking to women, and she said, ladies, the line for a man that wants to sleep with you is around the corner. The line for a man that wants to be your husband is short. The problem is as women, we don't know the difference.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
And I said, dang, but the same thing can go for men. And so the discernment, because when Max was talking, I'm thinking about, but there are some things, like in myself or Charles or Ray, there are some things we think about that behaviors we need to change. But there's a difference in changing the fact that I am just an a-hole, that I'm just a jerk. Because there are some people that are just narcissistic jerks out there.
Yeah.
And when Max said that, I'm like, yeah, Max, but sometimes the issue is that we choose incorrectly.
Yeah,
So sometimes you gotta have the level of discernment in the beginning to notice those red flags or those signs, or even the things about a good person. Because there's some guys out there that are just like, man, you know, he's an introvert. He doesn't do this, but he's a really good guy. Yeah, he's a really good father. Yeah. So are some of the things that he's not flashy about that you want him to change, that doesn't have more weight than the fact that he's a good human being. And sometimes those lines get a little bit blurred.
Well, go back
because
to what
we're looking
y'all
for
said.
the wrong things.
Go back to what y'all said about being in relationships, right? Being unevenly yoked.
Right.
And sometimes I used to confuse that with, you know, two people just aren't at the same place at the same time. That doesn't mean you're unevenly yoked. That just means that one might have progressed in a certain area faster than the other one.
That's where that patient comes in now.
Right. And being able to, y'all hitting it on the head, and being able to communicate and figure out where you are. Because the second that a person feels like they are defending themselves, the communication is out the window.
Right.
You know, and the longer that you talk, the more catastrophic that situation is going to get. Right.
Yeah.
So I am a believer now, after talking to y'all two, that it's
you
not.
You don't talk to me, you talk to Charles. I got bad advice. Don't let him. You'll be in the strip club or something like that.
See, look, smelling like shea butter, buying gifts for the women when they go home. Aaron ain't fooling nobody.
But Razor, I know
Aaron
we gotta
love
go
his
to break,
woman.
but
I ain't even
society
trying to hear
has
that.
all of us so jacked up because we don't have patience or long suffering for anything.
Yeah, we also don't. We also don't
got
have a
time and
community
mental
to
space
help
for
us.
a certain number of characters. You know, if it don't work, you move on to the next thing. Like,
yeah, that's
you know,
generational too. Yeah, you spot on.
Yeah.
It makes it tougher and tougher nowadays. You know, and
that
like I know we ain't on that topic yet, so you know, Max, I ain't gonna go too far.
Okay. Yeah, let's go to break though. It's good conversation, guys. It's good conversations. Anybody that's listening to us that wants to chime in, have a question that they want us to discuss, what have you, please give us a call, 434-422-9101. Send us a message on Facebook. We're listening.